Most people think memory loss during sleep is harmless. They are wrong. Here is what the research actually shows. A 2019 study published in Science found that during deep sleep, your brain activates a system called the glymphatic network, a biological waste clearance mechanism that flushes out amyloid beta and tau proteins. These are the same proteins that accumulate in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. And here is the part that should make you pause. Every night you fail to reach deep sleep, that flushing process is incomplete. The proteins stay, they accumulate, and they do damage that no morning cup of coffee will undo. My name is Dr. Elias Thorne. I am a clinical neurologist based in Chicago, Illinois. I have spent over 22 years studying the relationship between sleep architecture and cognitive decline. In my practice, I have worked with more than 3,400 patients over the age of 60 who came to me with the same complaint: waking up tired, forgetting things, feeling like their mind was slipping. And almost every single one of them had one thing in common. Their sleep was broken. Not absent, broken. And nobody had told them why that was destroying their brain. I want to give you facts today that most physicians are simply too busy to explain in a 12-minute office visit. Because what happens between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. in your brain is not passive. It is one of the most biologically active windows in your entire physiology. And after age 60, that window starts closing, quietly, gradually, without obvious warning. The first sign is rarely dramatic. It is subtle. You wake at 2 a.m. for no clear reason. You lie there for 45 minutes. You fall back asleep, but never deeply. In the morning, you feel like you ran a race you don't remember entering. That pattern, what sleep researchers call sleep fragmentation, is not just uncomfortable. A 2021 meta-analysis in Nature Review's Neuroscience linked chronic sleep fragmentation directly to a 68% increased risk of developing dementia within a decade. 68%. That is not a rounding error. That is a clinical alarm. And here is what makes it worse. The brain changes that drive sleep fragmentation after 60 are biological, not behavioral. This is not about your screen time or your coffee. This is about measurable shifts in 3 specific neurochemical systems. And unless you address those systems directly, no sleep hygiene tip in the world will fix the problem at the root. The first system is adenosine regulation. Adenosine is the molecule that builds up throughout the day and creates sleep pressure, the feeling of genuine tiredness. In younger adults, adenosine accumulates steadily and triggers deep, restorative sleep efficiently. After 60, the brain's sensitivity to adenosine drops. You feel tired, but the signal to enter deep sleep becomes weaker. The brain hovers. It skims the surface. It never fully descends into slow-wave sleep where the glymphatic system does its work. The second system involves GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid. GABA is your brain's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter. Think of it as the neurological off switch. For deep sleep to occur, GABA activity needs to be sufficient and sustained. After 60, GABA receptor sensitivity declines measurably. Small stressors, a sound, a temperature change, a minor discomfort, that would not wake a 35-year-old will pull you out of deep sleep entirely. Your brain is running with a faulty off switch, and every interruption resets the glymphatic process back to zero. The third system is circadian rhythm synchronization, specifically the timing and amplitude of your core body temperature drop at night. Deep sleep requires your core temperature to fall by approximately 1 to 1.5 degrees Celsius. This is not optional. It is a physiological prerequisite. After 60, this temperature drop becomes blunted. The signal is weaker. The brain hesitates at the threshold of deep sleep and stays there in lighter stages for hours. 3 systems, all declining, all interconnected, and all directly linked to what happens to your memory, your focus, and your long-term neurological health. Now, if you are watching this and thinking, That sounds exactly like what I experience every night. I want you to go to the pinned comment right now. I will explain why in a moment. But first, stay with me, because the mechanism matters. Here is what most people do not understand. The brain does not consolidate memories during the day. It consolidates them at night, specifically during slow-wave sleep and REM. Hippocampal replay. The process where the brain literally reactivates neural patterns from the day and transfers them to long-term cortical storage, only occurs in sufficient depth during these stages. When sleep is fragmented, hippocampal replay is interrupted, repeatedly, over years, and what you lose is not just last Tuesday's lunch, you lose the efficiency of the system itself. The architecture weakens, the consolidation pathways thin out, and the brain becomes progressively less capable of forming strong new memories, not because it is diseased, but because it was never given the conditions to maintain itself. This is why I am extremely specific with my patients about what I call pre-sleep neurochemical support. Not sedation, not suppression. Support for the three systems I just described: adenosine sensitivity, GABA receptor function, circadian temperature signaling. These are not vague wellness concepts. They are measurable, documented biological targets, and I will be precise about what the research points to. Magnesium glycinate, at therapeutic doses, has been shown in peer-reviewed trials to increase GABA receptor binding efficiency in adults over 60. L-theanine, a compound found in green tea, modulates alpha-wave activity in the brain in a way that supports the transition from wakefulness into deep sleep without causing grogginess the following morning. Apigenin, a flavonoid found in chamomile, binds to benzodiazepine receptors in the brain, the same receptors that GABA uses, and has demonstrated measurable improvements in sleep onset and sleep continuity in clinical studies. And phosphatidylserine, a phospholipid that supports neuronal membrane integrity, has shown in randomized trials to reduce cortisol spiking at night, which is one of the primary biological disruptors of the body's temperature regulation during sleep. These are not supplements chosen randomly. They are compounds that target the exact three systems I described, with clinical data, not marketing language behind them. The research behind what I explained today converges on one point. I found a formulation that combines exactly these compounds. The link is in the pinned comment. Now, I want to tell you about 4 people, because clinical data matters, but so does what I see in my actual practice. Robert is 69 from Texas. He came to me after 2 years of waking between 1 and 3 a.m. every night without explanation. His memory evaluations showed measurable decline in short-term recall. Nothing catastrophic, but trending in the wrong direction. Within 6 weeks of addressing his pre-sleep neurochemistry with the approach I described, he reported sleeping through the night consistently for the first time in years. His words, "I thought this was just aging. I didn't know it could change." His follow-up cognitive scores improved. That was not a coincidence. Bill is 73, from Ohio. His concern was word retrieval, that specific frustration of knowing what you want to say but not being able to pull the word. He had written it off as inevitable. What the evaluation showed was severe sleep fragmentation causing chronic hippocampal fatigue. Bill was skeptical. He told me flat out, "I've tried melatonin. It does nothing." I explained that melatonin addresses circadian timing, but not GABA receptor function or adenosine sensitivity. Different target, different mechanism. Once he understood that, he was willing to try a different approach. 3 months later, his word retrieval had noticeably improved. He described it as the fog thinning. Frank is 71 from Michigan. He was sleeping 7 hours a night and waking exhausted. He had convinced himself he was simply not a good sleeper and that nothing would change. What we found was that he was spending almost no time in slow-wave sleep. His architecture was entirely fragmented. 7 hours of surface sleep is neurologically inferior to 5 hours of deep sleep. Frank didn't need more hours, he needed deeper ones. Addressing his neurochemical support changed the quality, not the quantity. His wife told me she noticed the difference before he did. George is 66, from Pennsylvania. He came to me the earliest, before significant cognitive symptoms developed. He had simply noticed that he wasn't as sharp as he used to be, and he wanted to understand why. That kind of proactive thinking is exactly what I try to encourage. George started supporting his sleep architecture before the problem compounded. His words 6 months in, "I feel like I got a decade back." George understood something critical, that the time to protect the brain is before the damage becomes visible. What these 4 men share is not magic. It is biology addressed correctly at the right time. If you are over 60 and your sleep is broken, your brain is not resting. It is accumulating. It is missing consolidation cycles. It is skipping the glymphatic flush. And every night that passes without addressing those 3 neurochemical systems is a night the window closes a little further. I am not here to alarm you unnecessarily. I am here to give you the information you deserve, the kind that takes longer than a 12-minute office visit to explain. You now understand the mechanism. You understand why standard advice fails, and you understand what the research actually points to. Go to the pinned comment right now. That is where I have left the direct link. Not in the description, the pinned comment. Read what is there carefully. Make an informed decision. Your brain built everything you know, everything you love, everything you remember. It deserves one thing before bed that actually works at the level where the problem lives.